Hey, Chase Craig here with Own Boise at Keller Williams Realty Boise, and I'm excited to bring to you the market update through the end of March 2022. And I know this video is going to be way too long for most of you. You will not watch the whole thing. So here's the top 3 things you need to know about what's happening in today's market. Number 1, rates are up. Number 2, inventory is actually flat month over month. And then number 3, closed and pending sales are actually up year over year. So if you want to find out what all of that means and my thoughts on that, watch the rest of this video. All right, guys, thank you for sticking around to watch the rest of this. So number 1, rates are up. So as of filming this, today is April 7th, 2022. The 30-year fixed rate right now is about 4.875. Now, I was just reading this morning, a year ago today, rates were right at about like 3.275. So they've gone up about 1.5% since a year ago. You know, obviously we had some lows. We saw some rates dip into the 2s. You know, the average rate I think in 2021 was 3.4%. So we're roughly 1.5% higher than that. So what does this all mean? Well, here's the deal. All the experts out there will tell you that rates are going to continue to rise for the rest of this year. Right now, inflation, as you know, is out of control. We've talked about this on previous videos. So the Federal Reserve has only 2 tools to curb inflation. One's policy, the other one, which we're going to talk about, is rates. They can adjust the federal funds rate. That's the rate at which banks borrow money. Based on that rate, that's the rate at which they'll loan that money out. So every time they're adjusting that rate upwards, or even talking about adjusting that rate upwards, you're going to see 30-year fixed mortgage rates go up. And that's exactly what we've seen. And in fact, the federal funds rate has actually only gone up. It was 0. Now it's 0.25. So it went up 0.25%. But we saw our mortgage rates go up 1.5%. And the reason for that is because of all the talk that the Federal Reserve is going to continue to raise rates. So the consensus is that rates will only go up for the indefinite future here, for the next 24 months. That's what the consensus from the experts is. Now, what are they trying to do? Well, they're trying to slow down inflation and really slow down housing prices and affordability for all things. So that way, things don't get too out of control in terms of the cost of living, et cetera, et cetera. Now, the interesting thing I want you guys to understand is even though housing prices are at all-time highs, affordability is actually below the average. And let me explain what I mean. They have an index where they track income versus cost of living on a national average. And then they calculate what the percentage of income is. And for 2021, it was 17%. The highest we've ever seen was back in the 80s. It was like 37% of your income to be able to afford a home. The lowest we saw in 2011 or 12 was 13% of your income. So think about that. From 2011 to 2021, we saw prices, in some areas, they've tripled or even quadrupled in that time. And yet the affordability has only gone up, from 13% to 17%. That's where it's gone. Well, now with rates ticking up to 5%, we're probably going to be closer to that 18, 19, 20% by the end of 2022 because prices are still high and now they're increasing rates. So the cost to buy is going up. So what does this all mean to you? Well, I still go back to, is now a good time to buy or sell? Let's talk on the buy side. 2 questions you have to ask yourself. Do you have a good enough reason to buy? Is there something that's causing you to buy? Either you need to get into a bigger home because your family's growing, or you don't like the area that you're in, or maybe for a job relocation, or maybe you're downsizing. Maybe you need to get out of something that's bigger and get into something that's smaller. So A, do you have a good enough reason? Answer that question. If the answer is yes, then you need to ask yourself the next question: can you afford it? And if the answer to both of those is yes, then don't try and time the market. You know, a wise man once said, timing the market is a fool's errand, because the only time you know that you're at the top is once it's gone, right? If the market's going up and going up and going up, you only know it's at the top once it starts going down. And that's the only way to know, is looking through the historical lens at that market. Same with when it's at the bottom. And time again, I've been doing this 17 years now. I've had people come to me in 2011. They said, I'm waiting for prices to keep go lower. They're going to keep going down. No one wants real estate. And then of course, as they came up in 2014, 15, 16, 17, they just kept going up and up and up. People were like, well, I actually had clients of mine sell their homes. It wasn't my advice by any means. They just said, I'm going to sell my home, hold that cash, and then wait for the market to drop. I had clients in 2017 do that, 2018, 2019. I had clients right at the beginning of the pandemic do that. All 4 or 5 of those years, like, it didn't work out. Those people are priced out of that market. And so I would just really stress to you, like, don't overthink things. Can you afford it? Do you have a good enough reason? If the answer is yes, go. Now, let's just say rates are at 5% and you think for whatever reason they might go down in the future. If you have a house you can buy and you can afford it and there's a good reason to do it, buy it. And if they do go down, you could always refinance and address that rate. And if rates continue to go up, waiting right now could cost you the home that you're looking for. And this is really pertinent because as we go into the inventory and my prediction on where I think the market's going to be going this year, you're going to know a lot more about what I'm trying to get at here. So, all right, rates are up. Historical average of 30-year fixed rates is 6%. We're still below that. So in a relative term, money is still relatively cheap, and they're predicting it's going to go higher. So if you have a good reason and you can afford it, please buy with confidence. All right, secondly, inventory is flat month over month. Now I'm going to read you some numbers here. So month over month, March to February. So February 2022 to March of 2022, the active listings went from 323 in Ada County to 327. Okay, that is not what we want to see if we want to see prices come down. We need more inventory in order for prices to come down. Typically, we see a pretty good increase as we go into the spring market. And as of right this second, we're not seeing that increase. And there's some myriad of reasons why that might be happening. But I want to give you last year's numbers. So in 2021, we went from 186 homes on the market to 223 homes on the market. That was a 20% increase, which, by the way, that's pretty typical. We typically see somewhere between like a 10 and 30% increase in inventory from February to March. And then March to April, we see the same thing. So I'm really going to be curious what April brings us if we see a flood of inventory, which we would welcome, by the way, because we have people who are wanting to buy. And they're wanting to buy even with rates up because they're afraid they're going to go up even higher and they still haven't found the home they want. So we would welcome that flood of inventory, but I'm going to be really, really, really paying attention to inventory next month to see if that trend continues. Now, the last thing is closed and pendings are up year over year. Well, here's the numbers. We have, let's see, 575 closed homes in the month of March and 628 pending in the month of March. Last year, we had 555 closed and 588 pended. So we actually saw those numbers increase roughly 10%. Well, what's the significance of that? I think there's not much you need to know there other than we probably would have sold way more homes a year ago if we would have had more inventory. But, you know, even though inventory has gone up roughly 50% year over year, the inventory number is so low, like we just have nowhere to go but up. And I want to throw some data at you. So bear with me. You've stuck around this long. Thank you. I'm going to give you even more data to nerd out on. I had one of my business partners pull up some numbers for me for Ada County. So as of July 1st of 2021, the latest, rough estimate from the census is that we have 511,000 people in Ada County. And that the average household is 2.54 people per household. So that's roughly 199,000 households. 10% of those households typically move every year. The latest data we have from the National Association of Realtors is that people move every 10 years. So if 10% of those people are moving, then we would have about 19,900 homes that would be going on the market and selling. And now there's some renters in there too. So even if you drop that number in half, we'd have roughly, let's just say 10,000 homes. Now, if you divide that by 12, how many of those should be on the market? How many of those should be selling monthly? That's going to be like 800 homes per month. And then if you factor in the fact that we're in spring, which is when the majority of sellers come out, this is when we should see a higher month of inventory. So I'm just putting it into perspective because you only have 327 homes on the market. I cannot stress this enough. With rates going up, you're seeing pressure from the government trying to curb the price appreciation in real estate and housing. At some point, housing will stop going up and it could even come down. Unfortunately, in our area, with inventory where it's at, that will not happen in the near future. We ended the year at 575,000 average sold price, and right now we're at 588,000 average sold price. So all this data I've thrown at you guys, it all comes down to the prediction that I have. Macroeconomically in the United States, you're going to see real estate slow down, and you'll probably start to hear it on the news. Micro here in Boise and the Ada County area, we need more homes. And I'll give you a couple other just anecdotal things that I've seen just being in and around the business. We have institutional investors coming into our market with some big money, Wall Street money. And we've seen, there's 2 areas that I know of right now. There's probably much more that I don't know about yet, but they're whole subdivisions and they're being built just to rent them out. So they're not selling them to investors. They are an investor. They're coming in, buying a subdivision, building the whole subdivision, and then renting it out. That's a new thing for our area. It's not new. It's been done time and time again, but for our area, we just haven't seen that. And so as you see these people being attracted to the Boise area, that will continue to put pressure on pricing because those people are taking land out of the equation for builders. They're causing land prices to go up. That land price ultimately gets passed on to you and me, the person buying the home. So there's a lot of pressure on pricing right now. I don't anticipate pricing to go up significantly. I mean, maybe another few percent, but I don't see it going down anytime in the near future. So stay tuned for future videos. Really curious what the numbers are going to look like in April. I'm actually excited to see how much inventory we have. I'm hoping we see a pretty big push. Like, I'd be excited if we doubled. I don't think that's going to take place, but I hope to be proven wrong. Stay tuned for next time. Again, I'm Chase Craig with Own Boise at Keller Williams Realty Boise. If you have questions about the market, it's complex. I know I threw a lot of stuff at you and this video was pretty long. Ask your favorite Own Boise realtor, comment wherever you're seeing this video or reply. We'd be honored to meet with you and share our thoughts on the market and help guide you through your specific situation because everyone's scenario is different. And for someone, it might make sense to sell their house today, and someone else, it might make sense to stay put. We just want to be able to give you the information to help you make your informed decision. Ultimately, we're going to guide you, but you're going to direct. So thank you so much for watching this video, and we'll see you next month.